Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Alchemy podcast. It is good to be with you on this fine day in Central Coast. It's been a busy week, guys. My goodness. If you've been tracking what's been happening over email, or if you follow me on socials, you'll see that I had a great interview with Dr. John Demartini this week for this podcast and for my upcoming book. And the Actualize Challenge, the new program that I've launched, is in full effect. We're on day 10 today, day 10, session 10 tonight, and we've currently got 10 business owners going through this particular program, and it's just been phenomenal to see the insights and the realizations people are having inside that container. And today, on the back of these creations, what I found myself experiencing in the last 2 days, because some things have been completed, right? Some pretty major things. I found myself in a bit of a disorientation period, and in a sense of where you seem to be lost what am I trying to say here? I'm in a bit of a calorie deficit at the moment, so you're a bit lost for what to do next. Is what I'm trying to say. You complete something, and then you lose that feeling of what's coming next. And though I can see what's coming next, and though there's a bit of an inkling on what to do, the feeling hasn't been there. But I've experienced this before, and I don't get freaked out by it, because I know the more I focus on it in this period right now, the more I'll actually call in the feeling that's going to create the next phase of the book, of the podcast, and of course of this program. Well, particularly with this program, it's what's coming next after this. And so I want to speak about that today. You'll see that the topic of today is disorientation and the power of it. And I think, I can't speak from having calling myself an expert on this topic. I'm just talking from what I've experienced in business, with my music. I've experienced this before with my writing. This morning, I started writing the chapter for the book on Dr. Demartini, and man, was it tough. It was tough to start, but I knew I've said to you guys that I've got an hour each day that I dedicate to writing, and I'm I am going to start. And though it took me 15 to 20 minutes to start, which it does happen to me at times, eventually I got started, and I started to create the feeling. And I think that's what I want to speak about today. Disorientation, when you're in that and you're not feeling like doing what you're doing, and that's probably the better name for the topic today. When you're kind of out of sorts and you're not feeling like actually going out and taking action on something. I think creating the feeling is really important, because emotion moves you towards the end result. Emotion moves action, and if you're not feeling nothing, then you're not going to create anything, right? So this morning it was very neutral. I was very okay, I can see what I want, but what's the feeling of this end result? And you guys might be going, okay, Jordan, you're talking about happiness or joy, fulfillment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a really sound creative premise that I adopted from William Whitecloud, from my mentors Linda and Craig, and even Rick Rubin speaks about this. Is the emotion of the thing that you're bringing to life, the emotion of your vision. And you guys have heard me speak about this before. And sometimes, it's a little easier to tune in and hold it and feel it and kind of train your body to embody it as you're going. And then at other times, what I've experienced, it's really tough. And today was tough, especially when you're in a calorie deficit. Thank God I've only got 0.8 grams to go. And then I'm done. And I've got a week to do it before I go to Spain. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Anyhow, so, pushing through the disorientation, not making it mean anything, was really valuable. It was really valuable because once I did that, I got just a slither of something. I didn't get the full like hit. It wasn't like this big eruption of emotion that I could use. It was just a subtle sense, and I followed that, and I continued to lean into that feeling, and all of a sudden I started writing. And I was 2 hours in. I've completed half of what I want to write about. About my interview with Dr. Demartini. It was very, very powerful, and it kind of took it went a way that made a lot of sense in hindsight, but I didn't think it would actually go that way in terms of how I would write it. And after that action, then some other ideas came in for my business, which kind of surprised me, which I've gotten into movement now, and I'm actually feeling it. Like I can actually feel what that idea is in my body. I know that sounds super weird, but it's like there's a feeling. There's a feeling, right? So that's very much been planted, and I actually feel like that this particular idea I'm talking about in my business. I'm keeping it very very mysterious at this stage. But this particular idea, the seeds were planted a long time ago for this, and yeah, today it just like the shoots kind of popped out of the ground. I go, there you are. That seed turned into this, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, you got to go create the feeling that that's going to help you make sales. It's going to help you write. It's going to help you travel. Whatever it is, whenever you're disorientated, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing next, or I know what I need to do next, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. We all go through it. We all go through it. Doesn't matter what you do. We all go through it. Even the conversation you want to have with your partner, and you're like, oh God, that's a pain in the fucking ass. I don't want to have that conversation. There's feelings for that. There's feelings for that. You can actually choose feelings that will assist you in communicating in a much more powerful way. I'll be very open here. When was it? Yes, it was a while ago now. It was about a month ago. I hadn't spoken to my grandparents in a while. Not intentionally. I've just been quite busy, and I love my grandmother and everything, but sometimes she gets a little narky when I don't call, and I think, oh God, I gotta have this conversation with her, and oh, it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna that, and I just went, okay, that's there. But what's the actual vision of this conversation? It was just reconnection and just touching base. And I went, okay, what's the emotion that end result is? Like, what is it? And it wasn't like it was super high, like happiness and, oh my God, Jordan's called, and oh great, speaking of grandma, or yeah, that's what I call her in Greek because I'm part Greek. It wasn't any of that. It was just that there was a subtle thread. I can't even explain what the emotion was, but I felt it and I just leant into it and I called. I focused on it. Sure, there was a little bit of like, oh, you called or whatever. It wasn't too intense, and because I was embodying that feeling, it didn't really all the stuff that I was worried about. There were temptations to lean into those pathways in the conversation where I would have come out feeling like dog shit and gone and guilty and all that kind of stuff. But because I was embodying a particular emotion, that didn't happen. And though those pathways were still there, I didn't go down them. You know what I mean? Like, when you're speaking with someone you care about, and it's like about a sensitive topic, and there's something that if you lean on it, it'll trigger an argument. It'll trigger shit, and then once you're off and running down that path, it's harder to kind of pull yourself up. What I'm learning is if you embody the feeling of the end result that you actually want from the conversation before you start, i.e., you're proactive with making choices about what you want to happen. the thing doesn't occur. It doesn't occur. It can't, because you have switched. You've switched orientation. You've changed. You you've gone from like, I might react to this, to I'm being proactive. And you can't react when you are choosing to proact, right? You just can't. That's what I've discovered. Every time I proact, all right, I don't even know if that's a word. Every time I'm proactive, I can't react to anything that's happening in front of me, because I've decided this is what I'm going for. This is what I want. It was like that today when I was writing the chapter. It was like, okay, I I'm in a calorie deficit. That's the story. I'm in a calorie deficit. I've just worked really hard to land this interview, to do the interview. Um, I've got this program. I've got music happening in the background. I had a song come out this week. I've got another song coming out soon. I'm going to Spain next week. And I'm just, mate, I need a break, right? So there's all of this stuff going on. And I went, okay, cool. What's the end result of this chapter that I'm about to write? What's that? And I went, okay, I've got a subtle sense of it. And even though old mate ego was like, yeah, but we all know you're not going to be able to do that today because you're too tired, I just went, let's see if that's true. So I just lent into the subtle emotion, and long and behold, 2,000 words later, we're cooking with gas, as my dad would say. So, yeah, if you're finding you're in that disorientational phase where it's like, I've just done something. I've just created something. That was great. That was cool. Like, I'm excited. I'm grateful that I did that. But now there's this next phase, and I can see what I want. I can even see. I even know what I need to do. What's there to be done, right? What action is going to take me directly to that result? But it's hard to do, right? It's hard to do. I'm feeling a bit empty in terms of like what's actually going to drive this action. You go create the feeling. Don't wait for it. Don't wait for the feeling, because in my experience, you'll be waiting for a long time. And sometimes what I've learned, you can wait, if it's true for you to wait, and the feeling will drop in as a result of waiting. So it's still action, but it's not action in the traditional sense, right? But yeah, usually if you choose that, hey, I'm going to connect to this subtle thread that's there, then the feeling has a way of coming in and supporting what you're going for. Okay, all right, that's all I had to share today. Stay tuned, guys. Subscribe to the channel. The interview with Dr. Demartini will be coming soon. I'm anticipating early July. It'll be out. The book is definitely coming along, so stay tuned for that as well. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please do like, share, and subscribe to the rest of this podcast, because as you know, I do them weekly, and I've got my European trip coming up, and I'll be documenting what's happening over there, what I'm creating, what's happening on this mysterious yet exciting voyage over there. So anyway, that'll be it from me. You guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll catch up soon.